AITA for not giving my sister money for her wedding? I'm Nehemiah, and I never thought my relationship with Danielle, my younger sister, would come to this point. Growing up, Danielle and I were inseparable. I was the protective big brother, and she was the one person who could always make me laugh no matter how bad my day was. When our parents went through rough times, I was the one who worked odd jobs to help out with bills while Danielle focused on school. She always said she admired me for being so responsible and supportive. But lately, it feels like all of that history has been erased. 2 years ago, Danielle hit a really rough patch financially. She had just moved out on her own, was balancing rent, student loans, and car payments, and she fell behind badly on her car loan. She called me late one night, sobbing, saying she was scared her car would get repossessed and she'd lose her job because she couldn't get to work without it. Hearing her so upset broke my heart. Without hesitation, I dipped into my savings and paid off her remaining balance, over $7,000. I didn't ask for anything in return. I figured someday she'd pay me back when she could, or at the very least, show genuine appreciation for what I'd done. But she never mentioned it again. It was like it never happened. At first, I told myself not to dwell on it. She was young. She was overwhelmed. Maybe she didn't know how to express gratitude. I let it slide because I loved her and wanted to keep our bond strong. But now, I see that decision was a mistake because it set a precedent I never meant to create. About a month ago, Danielle called me out of the blue. She sounded overjoyed, talking a mile a minute about flowers, venues, colors, and how everything is coming together perfectly for her wedding next spring to Vicente, her fiancé. I was happy for her at first. She's always dreamed of a fairy tale wedding, and I figured this was one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments for her. Then she dropped a bomb that left me speechless. "Nehemiah," she said, her voice soft and sweet like she was about to ask for a small favor. "Vicente and I were hoping you could help us out financially. The wedding is going to be a bit more expensive than we expected. We need about $18,000 to make it happen, and Vicente's family has already contributed what they can. You've always been so generous, so I figured you'd want to be part of this." I nearly dropped the phone. $18,000. That's more than I make in 3 months. I've been saving for a down payment on a house with my girlfriend, and while I'm comfortable financially, I don't have that kind of cash lying around to hand over without serious consequences. I took a deep breath and tried to respond calmly. "Danielle, I'm so happy you're excited about the wedding, and I want to support you, but I can't give you that much money. I can offer $2,500 as a wedding gift, which is a lot for me right now, but I can't fund the entire wedding." Her tone flipped instantly, like a switch had been flipped. The excitement vanished, replaced by anger and disbelief. "So you have all this money saved, and you're telling me you won't help me when I need you the most? Are you serious right now, Nehemiah? You care more about your bank account than about your own sister's happiness." I was stunned. "It's not like that," I said, trying to stay calm. "This isn't my responsibility. I've already helped you before when you were in a bad spot. Remember when I paid off your car loan?" Her response cut me deeply. "That was 2 years ago. Why are you still bringing that up? You act like I've never done anything for you. This is different. This is my wedding. It's once in a lifetime." That conversation spiraled into shouting until she hung up on me. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The fallout was immediate. Within a couple of days, my phone was blowing up. My mom called first, her voice tight with frustration. "Nehemiah, what's going on? Danielle says you flat out refused to help her. She's heartbroken. Why would you do this to her?" I tried to explain, but my parents were already biased. Then my dad called, more neutral but clearly worried about the growing rift. My aunt added fuel to the fire by posting a vague Facebook status. Family should always come through for one another, especially during important milestones. It didn't name me, but everyone knew exactly who it was about. Soon, cousins and distant relatives were messaging me privately, some siding with me, others calling me selfish. Things escalated even further when Vicente himself decided to get involved. He called me directly one evening. At first, his tone was polite, almost rehearsed. "Nehemiah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Weddings are expensive, and I don't want to cause tension. But this is about Danielle's happiness. She deserves her dream day, and you're in a position to make that happen." I repeated what I'd told Danielle, keeping my voice calm. "I can't give you that much money. I've already offered a generous gift, and I've helped Danielle before. This isn't something I can or should take on." That's when Vicente's politeness vanished. His voice hardened, and there was a sharp edge to his words. "Well, if Danielle doesn't get the wedding she's been dreaming of, it's going to affect how we see our future relationship with you. I'm just being honest." It felt like a threat, and I was too stunned to even respond. When I hung up, I felt a mix of anger and dread. A few days later, Danielle posted an Instagram story showing a gorgeous venue with the caption, "Some people don't care enough to support you, but we'll make our dreams come true anyway." Mutual friends immediately started messaging me, asking what was going on. I felt humiliated, like my own sister was publicly painting me as the villain. By that point, every interaction in the family group chat turned into an argument. My aunt accused me of forgetting where I came from, while my cousin sent me a message saying I was lucky to even have money to spare and should share the blessing. The tension was unbearable. My girlfriend has been a rock talk through all of this, constantly reassuring me that I'm doing the right thing by setting boundaries. Still, the guilt eats at me. I lie awake at night wondering if I'm truly being selfish or if Danielle is so wrapped up in her wedding fantasy that she can't see how unfair her demands are. Last weekend, things reached another level. My mom invited me over for dinner to talk things out. When I arrived, Danielle was there, with Vicente. It was clearly an ambush. The evening started civilly enough, but within 20 minutes, Danielle was crying, accusing me of ruining her wedding. Vicente chimed in, saying his parents were deeply disappointed in me and that they were already contributing everything they could. I finally snapped. You're both acting like this is my responsibility, but it's not. I've already done so much for you, Danielle. I paid off your car loan. I've supported you every step of the way. And now you're trying to guilt me into giving up my future for a party you can't afford. The room went silent. Danielle looked shocked, like she'd never heard me raise my voice before. Vicente's face turned red, and he muttered something under his breath about me being selfish. My mom was crying by this point, begging us all to calm down. I left without saying another word. That night, Danielle texted me a single sentence. If you won't help me, don't bother coming to the wedding. I haven't responded. My parents are heartbroken, my family is divided, and my sister is acting like a stranger. It's been a few weeks since I last posted about Danielle, Vicente, and the whole wedding money mess. I wish I could say things calmed down, but honestly, they've only gotten messier and more painful. A few days after my initial post, Danielle texted me late at night. The message was long and emotional, almost like a speech she had rehearsed. She said she felt betrayed by me and couldn't believe her own brother was turning his back on her during the most important time of her life. I stared at my phone for a long time before responding, trying to keep my cool. I reminded her, gently, that I wasn't abandoning her. I had already offered a generous gift and had even bailed her out before with her car loan. She read my message but didn't reply. Instead, the very next morning, I woke up to dozens of notifications. Danielle had posted a public Facebook post saying, "Sometimes the people you love most will hurt you the worst. It's sad when money matters more than family." My stomach dropped as I saw the comments flooding in. Family members, friends, even distant cousins were chiming in with sympathy and outrage. Some people were tagging me directly, essentially calling me out without using my name. It felt humiliating. That same afternoon, my mom called me, voice shaking with emotion. She said Danielle had been sobbing on the phone with her, saying she felt like I didn't love her. My mom begged me to reconsider, to just make it right for the sake of family peace. I stayed firm, explaining that giving Danielle that much money would not only hurt me financially, but also enable her to continue leaning on me instead of taking responsibility for her choices. My mom didn't yell, but I could hear the disappointment in her voice when she said, "I just don't understand how you can be so cold to your own sister." Later that evening, Vicente decided to take things into his own hands. He called me directly, and his tone was completely different this time. Gone was the polite, reasonable voice I'd heard before. Instead, he sounded angry and almost threatening. "Nehemiah," he said sharply, "Danielle deserves the wedding she's dreamed of. If you're not going to help, then don't expect to be welcomed at our wedding or into our lives after we're married." I stayed calm and told him that withholding an invitation from me wouldn't change my decision. That's when he raised his voice. "You're choosing your pride over your family. Fine, but when Danielle cries herself to sleep because of this, remember that you caused it." Then he hung up on me. I felt sick after that conversation. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering if I was truly being unreasonable. My girlfriend, who had been quietly listening, hugged me and told me not to give in to guilt or manipulation. She reminded me how much I've already done for Danielle. Still, the guilt gnawed at me. 2 days later, things escalated even further. My aunt, yes, the same one who made a passive-aggressive Facebook post earlier, sent a message to our entire extended family group chat. She wrote, "Family is everything. If someone refuses to support Danielle and Vicente's wedding, maybe they shouldn't expect support from us in the future." It was clearly aimed at me, and I knew it the second I saw it. Almost immediately, relatives started leaving little heart emojis or amen replies. My phone blew up with private texts, some defending me, others outright attacking me. It felt like the entire family was splitting into sides. That evening, Danielle sent me a voice message. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Between sobs, she said, "I don't want to fight anymore, but I can't believe you'd embarrass me like this. Vicente's parents are ashamed of me because of you. They think I come from a family that doesn't care." Hearing her like that broke my heart, but I also noticed something strange in her tone. It felt rehearsed, almost like she was reading lines Vicente had fed her. The next blow came when my girlfriend showed me a screenshot from Instagram. Danielle had posted a photo of a beautiful venue with the caption, "Sometimes you realize you have to rely on yourself because others will let you down." In the comments, Vicente's friends were bashing me openly, calling me selfish and greedy. My name wasn't mentioned, mentioned, but everyone knew who they were talking about. I decided to take a step back and go completely quiet for a while. I stopped responding to group texts and muted Danielle's social media. I thought maybe if I didn't engage, the fire would burn itself out. But that silence only seemed to fuel the drama. One night, around 10 p.m., my dad called me. He rarely gets involved in family fights, so I knew it was serious. He told me he'd spoken to Vicente privately and learned something disturbing. Vicente's parents were not contributing nearly as much as Danielle claimed. In fact, they'd only offered a small amount, and Vicente had been relying on my potential contribution to make up the difference. My dad said, "I think Vicente sees you as a bank, Nehemiah, not a brother-in-law. Be careful." Hearing that confirmed everything I'd suspected. It wasn't just about Danielle wanting her dream wedding. Vicente had been manipulating the entire situation, feeding Danielle lines and stirring up family drama to pressure me. The next day, I decided to confront Danielle directly. I called her, and to my surprise, she answered immediately. I told her calmly but firmly that I knew what Vicente was doing and that I wasn't going to be part of his manipulative game. I said, "Danielle, I love you, but if this wedding is more important to you than our relationship, then maybe I shouldn't come at all." There was a long silence. Then she said quietly, "If you don't want to help, then don't come." My chest felt heavy, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. I said goodbye and hung up. 2 weeks later, invitations went out for the wedding. Mine never came. My mom was heartbroken, my dad was furious, and I just felt numb. The wedding happened last weekend. I stayed home with my girlfriend. My mom sent me a photo of Danielle in her dress, and for a moment, I almost cried. She looked so happy, so radiant, but I couldn't help wondering if she truly understood how much damage had been done to our family in the process. The day after the wedding, I got a single text message from Danielle. "I hope you're happy with the choice you made. I'll never forget it." I didn't reply. Now, I'm left with a fractured relationship with my sister and a family still divided. Part of me wants to reach out, to try and mend things, but another part of me knows that if I give in, this cycle will just repeat. It's not the ending I wanted, but at least I held on to my boundaries. Sometimes, love means letting go, even when it breaks your heart.
Let's unpack this. You covered Danielle's car debt years back, a life-saving move at the time. $7,000 wasn't just generosity, it was sacrifice. That should have established gratitude, or at least recognition that you're not a bottomless wallet. Instead, your kindness set an unfortunate precedent where she assumed your finances exist for her emergencies, or, in this case, extravagances. Weddings are joyous, but they're celebrations, not medical bills, not survival costs, not matters of life and death. She and Vicente framed their dream day like it was oxygen, and you refusing to fund it meant you were choking her. That's a manipulative narrative, not reality. $18,000 is not a favor, it's a life-changing sum. You were not cruel in saying no, you were responsible. In fact, your offer of $2,500 was generous, more than most siblings would ever consider. That Danielle and Vicente dismissed it like pocket change exposes the heart of this conflict. They didn't want support, they wanted control. Here's where the AITA lens gets sharp. Family loyalty has limits. If love is conditional on you draining your savings, that's not love, it's leverage. Your sister's escalating attacks, your aunt's vague booking, your mother's guilt trips, and Vicente's veiled threats all show one thing. This was never about family harmony. It was about compliance. The moment you resisted, they painted you as the villain because it was easier than confronting their own financial irresponsibility. Now, could you have been gentler in delivery? Possibly. Maybe instead of invoking the old car loan, you could have framed it strictly around your future goals with your girlfriend. But let's be honest, even if you'd wrapped your refusal in silk, Danielle and Vicente would still have exploded. They weren't asking, they were demanding. Your no was never going to be acceptable to them. My suggestion? Stand firm, but don't burn your own soul in the process. Boundaries don't need to come with bitterness. You can leave the door open for reconciliation without sacrificing your financial future. Reach out months down the line, not with apologies, but with simple reminders that you still love her, that you're willing to be in her life when she's ready to see you as a brother, not an ATM. Now for the final judgment. Are you the AITA? Absolutely not. You are not cruel for refusing to bankroll a luxury. You are not heartless for choosing a house down payment with your girlfriend over a one-day event. You are not ungrateful for pointing out that you've already given before. If anything, you've been too soft for too long, which emboldened Danielle and Vicente to push this far. If anyone wears the AITA crown here, it's Danielle for her entitlement and Vicente for his manipulative pressure. You drew a line, and they punished you for daring to protect yourself. That doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sane. So no, you are not the AITA. You held your ground against unreasonable demands. And the irony? If Danielle and Vicente truly wanted a fairy tale wedding, they should have remembered one thing. Every fairy tale has a villain. Unfortunately, they cast you in that role, but only because you refused to play the fool. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
AITA for considering ending my friendship because of my friend's choices? I'm Catherine, 24, and I still live with my mom, Julietta. I've been counting down the days until I start a new job that will finally allow me to save enough to move into a flat of my own with my boyfriend, Campbell. I've been dreaming of a quiet space where I can unwind without constant stress, a place where I can breathe. I never imagined that moving out would become so complicated even before it happened. A few weeks ago, Julietta called me into her room. She looked exhausted in a way that made my chest tighten. She's been dealing with depression for years and takes antidepressants, but lately, it seems worse than usual. She barely leaves her bed most days, and her voice sounded small and shaky when she told me she's planning to quit her job and move far away. She said she just can't do it anymore, that she needs a fresh start. I could understand that. She deserves a break, but then she said something that made my stomach drop. She suggested that Lucien, my 16-year-old half-brother, could come live with me when she moves. I froze. My mouth went dry. My hands gripped the edge of the bed. I immediately said, "That's not happening." Lucien, who was sitting nearby, shot me a sarcastic smirk and said, "Oh, thanks, I guess." Julietta looked confused and hurt. "Why not?" she asked quietly. I wanted to explain, but the words were heavy. Lucien is almost impossible to live with. He has a serious overeating problem. Every day, he goes through groceries like they are nothing, eating massive portions of food for hours on end. I've watched Julietta struggle to keep the house stocked, and I do what I can to buy my own food to ease the burden, but even then, half the kitchen ends up in chaos. He leaves wrappers, empty containers, and crumbs everywhere. It's constant, relentless. He cannot pick up after himself, and the stretch marks on his stomach tell the story of years of overeating. He's also messy in every other way. Laundry piles up, trash sits in corners for days, dishes rot in the sink. He takes showers that last for hours, burns through hot water, and leaves lights, fans, TVs, and his gaming console running all day, even when he's gone. On top of that, he has a terrible attitude. He shouts at Julietta, complains constantly, and has punched holes in walls and doors. Julietta tries to cover the damage with posters or frames, but the problems never truly disappear. Living with him would drain me emotionally, financially, and mentally. I love Lucien in my own complicated way, but love doesn't erase the reality of living with someone like him. I've already tried to help where I can. I cook meals, do chores, and give Julietta space when she needs it, but taking full responsibility for Lucien is more than I can handle. I told Julietta that I wouldn't be giving out my flat's address when I move, because I simply cannot risk him being sent there. She got upset immediately. "Catherine, you're my daughter. Don't you care about Lucien? Are you really going to let him be without a home?" Her voice cracked, and I could hear the weight of her exhaustion and desperation. My chest tightened. "Mom, it's not about not caring," I said. "I do care, but I cannot take responsibility for him. I can't live my life in constant chaos. I need my space, my mental health, and a chance to build a stable home for myself and Campbell." Julietta sighed heavily, looking torn between relief and disappointment. She tried to reason with me. "I just don't know what else to do. He's impossible here. I can't keep doing this, Catherine. I need help. You're the only person I trust to care for him properly." I felt a pang of guilt. Part of me wanted to say yes, to shoulder the burden, because I love her and Lucien. But then I thought of the months I've spent cleaning up after him, the arguments I've had with him over trivial things, the stress he causes. I imagined my own home, a peaceful place where I could cook, relax, and come home without tension, and I realized I can't sacrifice that. Campbell sat beside me during the conversation, holding my hand, nodding quietly. He agreed that taking Lucien in would be unmanageable. "You're not being cruel," he said. "You're setting boundaries, and that's okay. You're allowed to protect your space." I appreciated him more than I could say, but the guilt didn't vanish entirely. Part of me still felt like I was failing as a sister. The next few days were tense. Lucien seemed to sense my refusal and began acting out more. He would slam doors, leave his gaming console on full volume, and even yell at me for the smallest things. Julietta would try to intervene, but she was exhausted, and I could see the helplessness in her eyes. Every day, it felt like walking a tightrope, trying not to provoke a bigger conflict while also standing my ground. One evening, Lucien left a pile of wrappers and half-eaten food on the kitchen counter. I snapped, more out of frustration than anything else. "Lucien, pick this up. I am not living like this." He looked at me with a smirk and said, "Why do you even care? It's not your house." I felt my chest tighten and my patience snap. It would be my house soon, and I will not let it turn into a nightmare. Julietta overheard and sighed. "Catherine, I know you're right, but it's hard to watch you two clash. I don't know what to do anymore." I walked over, hugged her, and whispered, "Mom, I promise I'll help when I can, but I can't live like this. I need my space. I need to breathe." Even after that, tension remained high. Lucien would sulk, mutter under his breath, and occasionally leave passive-aggressive notes notes around the house. I tried to ignore them, but the constant reminders made me anxious. I knew that moving out soon would finally give me the distance I needed, but the thought of how Julietta would cope without me weighed heavily on my mind. I spoke to Campbell about it late one night. I feel guilty, I admitted, like I'm abandoning them. He held me close. You're not abandoning them. You're protecting your mental health. You're allowed to do that. His words helped, but only slightly. I knew this was going to be a long road of balancing family, guilt, and personal boundaries. At this point, I'm focused on my job, saving for the flat, and creating a home that's calm and stable. Lucien is still here, still a challenge, but I've drawn my line. I know that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad sister or a bad daughter. It makes me human. I just hope Julietta can understand in time that sometimes love isn't enough, and that survival sometimes means choosing peace over obligation. Even with the tension, the shouting, and the constant reminders of responsibility, I've realized that I am allowed to protect myself. I can still love my family without sacrificing my future. And while it's painful, standing firm feels like the only path to keeping my life, my mental health, and my relationship with Campbell intact. I'm just left wondering, AITA for refusing to let Lucien move in with me?
First, the ethical dimension. You are not the AITA for refusing to take Lucien in. Love does not equal obligation to become a substitute parent. Julietta's exhaustion is real, her depression undeniable, but her proposed solution shifts parental duties onto you, a daughter trying to establish her own independence. That is misdirected. Lucien's needs are significant emotional regulation, dietary control, behavioral support, and those cannot be solved by transplanting him into your fledgling household. They require structured intervention, professional guidance, and consistent authority. None of that is fair to thrust upon a 24-year-old just beginning her career and partnership. Second, the relational perspective. Your guilt is understandable but misplaced. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are necessary walls that protect both love and sanity. Without them, resentment festers. Imagine moving Lucien in, constant fights over food, broken furniture, endless shouting matches. Your dream of peace would disintegrate before it even started. Then your relationship with Campbell, already tested by stress, could strain under the weight of battles that are not his responsibility either. By saying no, you are actually preserving the possibility of still having a healthy relationship with your mother and brother in the long run, rather than watching it collapse under resentment. Third, suggestions. Encourage Julietta to explore external resources, counseling, support groups, or local social services. Depression doesn't vanish with relocation, it travels. Professional guidance is vital. Suggest Lucien be connected with structured activities, sports, therapy, community programs that channel his energy and begin addressing his behavior. A teenager's chaos can't be managed solely by family, it requires outside accountability. Set limits without severing ties. Offer small, concrete help, occasional groceries, check-ins, or short visits, but keep your flat sacred. Once that line is crossed, reclaiming it becomes nearly impossible. Fourth, humor. Sometimes life resembles an episode of a sitcom written by a sleep-deprived playwright. You want your flat to be a sanctuary with candles, tidy shelves, maybe a fridge that actually stays stocked for more than 2 days. Julietta envisions it as a halfway house where wrappers multiply faster than rabbits, showers run like Niagara Falls, and walls become punching bags. The mismatch is almost comical, except you're the one stuck cleaning up the popcorn kernels from the carpet. Final judgment, you are not the AITA. You are a young woman attempting to build a stable future without being crushed by obligations you didn't sign up for. However, you could become the AITA if you responded with hostility or abandoned communication completely. Compassion matters, but compassion has to coexist with boundaries. By standing firm while still offering emotional support, you are showing maturity, not selfishness. Julietta's pain is real, Lucien's struggles are real, but your right to peace is just as real. Protect it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for refusing to trust my in-laws with my baby. Click here to watch it now.